Ever wondered what true tranquility sounds like? It's more than silence. This video takes you into a traditional Japanese courtyard, isolating every drip, rustle, and distant chime. You'll hear how intentional sound design creates deep peace. Slow your breath, sharpen your listening, and discover how sound becomes architecture for the soul. Welcome to a place where sound shapes serenity. As the camera glides into a traditional Japanese courtyard, the first impression is auditory near silence with faint natural cues. Stone absorbs echo, open air lets sound breathe. This mindful soundscape design sets a threshold, reminding us stillness is never empty, only carefully composed. Silence here isn't absence, it's intention. Japanese garden acoustic design sculpts quiet like stone and moss. Walls and greenery soften distant noise until only what matters remains. This aesthetic teaches that silence amplifies awareness, making small sounds feel meaningful and preparing the listener for what follows. A single drop falls. The tsukibai's gentle rhythm anchors the courtyard, steady but never dominant. Each drip registers, echoes lightly, then dissolves into quiet. Water and wind work together to hold attention in the present, turning a simple function into a core element of Zen garden soundscape. Wind passes and bamboo answers with a delicate rustle. The sound is dry, light, and fleeting, echoing impermanence. Nothing announces itself loudly. It whispers like breathing. Movement becomes audible without disruption, inviting awareness rather than demanding attention. Soft footsteps enter. Gravel compresses with a restrained crunch that acknowledges presence without intrusion. In this acoustic landscape, humans join the soundscape instead of breaking it. Each step becomes mindful rhythm, aligning movement with the courtyard's calm, intentional flow. Beyond the basin, water adds variation, perhaps a hidden stream or shishiodoshi. Hollow wood tones contrast the sukubi's softness. Japanese garden acoustic design uses contrast to avoid monotony while preserving calm. The listener begins to hear layers and depth without urgency. A temple bell sounds faintly beyond the wall, brief, distant, profound. It expands the space emotionally through suggestion, not volume. The tone arrives, resonates, and disappears, reinforcing that tranquility often lives in what's just beyond reach. Birdsong appears in small, scattered moments. Never a chorus. Water and wind provide structure. Birds bring spontaneity. Their calls touch stone briefly, then fade. Nature speaks freely inside a carefully prepared acoustic frame, keeping the courtyard alive yet unforced. Courtyard walls don't just enclose, they shape sound. Plaster, wood, and stone control resonance, preventing harsh echoes. Outside noise dissolves into irrelevance. Sound stays intimate, arrives politely, and leaves space for stillness to return. Now listening itself slows. The Zen garden soundscape invites awareness without instruction. Each element feels familiar yet newly noticed. The courtyard teaches tranquility is practiced, not accidental. As sound fades into silence again, you're no longer observing calm, you're participating in it. Beneath the quiet, a gentle rhythm appears, slow, irregular, organic. The drip pauses longer, a leaf moves unexpectedly. Soundscape design avoids symmetry, letting imperfection feel real. This subtle pacing helps the mind release expectation and settle into unforced awareness. Wind becomes an invisible architect. It shapes the space through soft shifts in bamboo, moss, and air. Japanese acoustic design treats wind as a collaborator, creating a living soundscape that never repeats exactly. The courtyard stays responsive, quietly dynamic and alive. The courtyard has an inner pulse made of layered sounds. Sukubai drip, distant birds, and faint gravel overlap without competing. You stop hearing separate noises and begin sensing a unified presence, continuous, unobtrusive, like a slow breath holding the space together. This courtyard never urges action. Its peaceful sound design encourages pause, not productivity. Sharp edges are removed, replaced by softness that slows thought. You begin to mirror the environment, breathing deeper, moving less, receiving the subtle dialogue between sound and silence. Gravel becomes a marker of time, Each crunch acknowledges the present moment, keeping awareness engaged without disturbance. It naturally slows the body and aligns mind with movement. Here, mindfulness is taught through calibrated sound, not instructions. Echoes don't linger. Surfaces and greenery absorb resonance so sounds appear briefly, then release. Impermanence is built into the acoustic design. The listener learns to appreciate moments without clinging, finding calm when nothing insists on staying longer than needed. Not all sounds are equal. Japanese aesthetic principles create hierarchy. Soft sounds lead, others follow. Bird calls sit behind water, wind sits behind stone. This prevents auditory clutter and reduces decision fatigue, letting attention rest inside a balanced, guided sound field. The courtyard becomes an open-air listening room. Stone reflects lightly, wood softens, plants diffuse. Japanese acoustic design treats space as an instrument, tuned so sound never bounces harshly. The result feels intimate and immersive, as if the courtyard is shaped for human perception. What you don't hear matters. No engines, no electrical hum. Removing mechanical noise preserves natural resonance and sharpens sensitivity to organic sounds. Subtraction becomes powerful design, making calm feel timeless, authentic, and unstaged. Listening now feels effortless. The soundscape has guided perception gently until tranquility becomes felt, not analyzed. Its power is consistency, not spectacle. You're no longer trying to hear, you're simply present with sound, silence, and time. Sound quietly guides movement. Changes in gravel tone or water volume suggest where to slow, pause, or turn. Without signs, the courtyard becomes intuitive. Soundscape design replaces visual dominance with auditory suggestion, reinforcing tranquility without conscious effort. Soft sounds carry weight. A faint drip or rustle feels significant because nothing competes with it. Restraint amplifies meaning, training sensitivity. The space feels both light and profound, filled by quiet without being overwhelmed by it. The courtyard shifts with the seasons. Water and wind change with temperature, humidity, and foliage. Summer may bring distant cicadas, autumn sharpens leaf and gravel tones. This soundscape welcomes impermanence, reminding us calm evolves rather than stays fixed. Even empty, the courtyard feels inhabited. Water continues, breeze moves, a bird calls far away, suggesting ongoing life. Acoustic design prevents loneliness, offering reflection without abandonment. Presence doesn't require activity, only sustained, gentle sensory engagement. Gentle repetition calms the nervous system. Water repeats without strict timing, predictable, yet never mechanical. Small variations prevent monotony, like breathing. The mind relaxes through rhythmic familiarity that feels natural and reassuring. Distance creates depth. Sounds arrive softened, never abrupt bell far away, water closer, gravel beneath. Layering builds perspective through sound alone, expanding space beyond sight. Traditional Japanese soundscapes use distance to avoid overwhelm and keep calm breathable. Greenery absorbs sound. Bamboo, moss, and shrubs soften resonance and break up sound waves, preventing sharp reflections. Plants become acoustic material, balancing stone's hardness with living softness. Calm is heard as much as it's seen. Sometimes sound nearly disappears. These pauses invite reflection. Zen soundscape philosophy values emptiness as much as presence. Silence turns attention inward. Breath, thought, and internal noise become noticeable, making the courtyard a mirror for the mind, not a source of stimulation. At dusk, sound subtly changes. Evening air carries tones differently. Water and wind feel deeper, slower in perception. Shadows grow, sound softens. Awareness settles naturally. The courtyard signals transition without announcement, preparing the listener for rest. Sound becomes emotional architecture. The soundscape shapes mood like invisible structure, guiding feeling gently. Japanese aesthetic principles keep tranquility organic, never forced. Individual elements merge into a unified calm that holds the space together. Nightfall makes the soundscape more intimate. Daytime layers dissolve, leaving fewer, clearer tones. Darkness sharpens listening, water feels closer, wind softer, silence heavier. Reduced activity amplifies subtle sound, deepening calm inside the traditional courtyard atmosphere. At night, the sukubai drip becomes a focal point. With fewer sounds, textures separate clearly: water, wind, and silence. Minimal input creates maximum impact. The courtyard feels suspended in time, held steady by water's quiet persistence. Darkness changes acoustics. Shadows seem to absorb sound. Leaves rustle less, gravel rests undisturbed. Stimulation drops naturally, making silence feel expansive, not empty. You sense depth without detail. Tranquility becomes enveloping. The courtyard becomes a breathing space. Sound arrives and departs gently, inviting slower breath and physical calm. Tranquility is felt in the body, relaxed posture, steady rhythm. Environment and listener move together in subtle, shared harmony. With fewer sounds, presence expands. Zen soundscape philosophy shows minimal input heightens perception. The courtyard feels full despite quiet. You stop waiting for sound and start resting within it, letting awareness widen without effort. A long silence arrives and heals. Sound and silence work together to restore balance. The design trusts the listener to stay engaged without constant input. Stillness becomes restorative space for reflection, emotional release, and quiet mental repair. Subtle cues prepare departure, a final drip, a soft breeze. Soundscape design eases transition without shock, keeping continuity intact as attention shifts outward. The calm remains steady, ready to be carried beyond the courtyard. As the experience ends, sound fades into memory. The soundscape succeeds when tranquility travels with you. Calm becomes internal rhythm, portable and repeatable. The courtyard's lesson remains. Peace is learned through listening, not confined to place. As listening softens, awareness returns to the body's slower breath, relaxed muscles, steady posture. The soundscape supports embodiment, not escape. Nothing overwhelms, so you stay grounded. Calm becomes tangible, felt physically as much as emotionally. The courtyard teaches without words. Through restraint and rhythm, it shows how less stimulation creates deeper calm. Soundscape design becomes silent instruction. Listen, slow down, respect the pause, and let tranquility grow naturally. As sound recedes, mental tension loosens. Reduced cognitive noise lets thoughts slow on their own. In this design, sound acts like medicine, gentle, sustainable, never demanding, rebalancing attention and restoring emotional equilibrium. The most powerful moment sits at the edge of sound and silence. They meet without conflict, and the courtyard doesn't rush resolution. Silence feels alive, not empty. Tranquility appears in the graceful exchange between presence and absence. The courtyard's influence extends beyond the space. Soundscape design succeeds when calm remains after sound ends. The listening patterns you've learned become portable, helping you re-enter the world with softer awareness and steadier breath. Everyday sounds feel reimagined. Traffic, voices, and motion become textures you can notice without judgment. The courtyard becomes a reference point, teaching mindful hearing that can reshape how you experience sound everywhere. Listening becomes a ritual of presence. Courtyard tones echo inwardly, creating small pauses in daily life. No ceremony is needed, only intention. You realize presence isn't location-bound. It's cultivated through patient, attentive listening. As imagery fades, meaning remains. The soundscape withdraws gently, leaving calm intact. It doesn't demand recall. It imprints softly. You carry forward a quieter inner space shaped by intentional listening. One final pause. Silence settles fully into balance. Nothing more is needed. The courtyard trusts you to stay present without stimulation. The ending is awareness itself, steady, quiet, and complete. The courtyard releases you gently. Sounds fade, but their rhythm remains within you. Mindful listening can turn ordinary spaces into peace. Thank you for sharing this journey into sound and stillness. If it resonated, please like, subscribe, and keep exploring tranquility with us.